or so who believes that we shouldn't be very public, and you were in the 75% or so which believes we should. First of all, let me start actually with you, Nirmala. Did any of the data surprise you? Were you surprised that there's only 25% of you? And do you think society at large represents the 25% number?
I think there would be. I'm kind of yes and no, a little bit surprised, but the middle number of saying selectively visible was more what I thought was real, right? And so some of us in certain situations would like to share, and in certain situations would avoid it. So that was my take on what I saw now.
So did data surprised you?
Actually, I thought there was a little bit of a contradiction in the data or the feedback from the audience here. In the very first question that you had, people like me were in the minority because I think it was the least of the three options that you gave. And then at the end, a big number of people said that it amplifies the impact, right? So I wasn't completely sure in terms of what it meant.
Yeah, it did seem to me as well that suddenly I thought there would be probably a swing towards one end or the other after the compelling arguments one or two of you would make. But it looked like it happened through
It looks like everybody believes that it amplifies the impact, but many people still prefer not to go there.
So that's that actually sets up my next question. So it clearly seems like people do believe that being public amplifies impact. Okay. What has been your own experience with that?
So thanks, Samit. So I joined LMP. I became a signatory or pledger somewhere during COVID. It was part of my own tryst with what was going on around me to feel people like me need to punch above or at least at my weight and not just sit in the trenches and wait for somebody else to do the difficult work. And as I got into that journey, a lot of conversations with others in terms of course, why are you doing something like this, but also in terms of why would you want to share something like this with people, right? And I personally think humility is overrated. And without trying to be narcissistic, I think I've found through my experience, and I have a few friends here who I've invited, and many people here know me. Anybody who spent 10 minutes with me knows that I work in philanthropy, and also I'm committed to the cause of disability. And it has given me phenomenal results. I mean, I have friends here who became partners of SVP who I did not know, like Thomas sitting out there. The only reason he knows me is because I started writing on LinkedIn very regularly over the last 3 years as part of a very deliberate effort to cultivate a network of people who would see similar things and engage with me. And I saw success through that. People may think that I am trying to glorify myself, but I know what my real intent behind it is, and I make no apologies for that.
So intent matters. It's not, the amplification really happens with good intent is your point.
And I'm sure there are people who think that he's bragging about himself and trying to glorify, and who does he think he is, and everybody's free to have their opinion, but for me, I am very clear in my mind that if me putting myself out there allows someone who looks at me and says, hey, I'm much better off than him and I can do better than him, I would be very happy to lose that battle if it just brings more good into this universe.
So, my wife, like you, prefers privacy with what she does, unlike Sudhir, right? What makes people who prefer privacy if Sudhir is right about amplification?
Well, I think for a start for me is I tend to also swing towards being an introvert, though I am an ambivert. And so there is this hesitation of going out and speaking about my giving to people, especially who I don't know. And sometimes it can even be extended family and friends. When I see a hesitation in the value mismatch and things like that. Even, to invite people here, I would think like 10 times before I would get them into this room. Very honestly, right? So I have kind of moved to the selectively visible now. After I signed up in COVID, it was my birthday, or in the COVID year, that I bit the bullet, and I basically then went full time into running my foundation. But Amit, to answer you, I am very visible with the work I do, but people don't know that I fund it. See, now that's the thing, right? I'll talk about Kindness Unlimited, I'll go posting about it, but I won't say that I'm somebody who's investing. And
So that actually takes me to a very, very important point, which is, and in some ways Sudhir touched upon this as well, which is what is the right kind of visibility? And would people react differently to visibility about intent versus visibility about action? And I'm actually going to bring someone from the audience to talk about that a little bit more. So we have a group called the Old Farts Society, which, the chairperson is again Venkat. It consists of Father Louis, Govind and me, four of us. We basically do all kind of, we procrastinate over esoteric things that are happening in the world around us. One of the debates we've been having is about this whole issue about giving in public and all of that. And the Giving Pledge is something that really interests us a lot. I've always been a fan of the Giving Pledge, but over the recent years, my opinion has actually changed. And one of the reasons is that when I'm now looking at the data, I realize that the signatories have accumulated 10 times more wealth than they've actually given since they signed up. Does that data surprise anyone? It doesn't. Okay. So it basically is an indicator that there is people wanting to attend a marriage here, looks like. So it looks like, there's clearly, when it comes to the desire to affiliate with a group, and which is a group that people have celebrated enormously, there's actually been, the gap between intent and action has been huge. And what's very remarkable is that there's a person sitting outside that group, exceptional woman, Scott McKinsey, who's actually who's the only person I know in the last decade who's actually poorer than where she started, because she's been given at an exceptional rate, and she's not a signatory to Giving Pledge. So this difference between intent and action becomes really, really important. And so I want to turn to you, and I want to get a comment from any of the three old farts on the other side. But why are you so shy about telling people that you fund your organization? And do you think that if people knew, don't you think that people will be willing to back your work even much more deeply?
Sure. I have given that very serious thought in the last couple of years, and so I have become visible.
Couple of years? You were really slow.
2 years, like 2-3 years now. But I have realized that it matters. But I'm not like all out there. I have to pick and scan and the person I'm speaking to, and only then I kind of would share. But I kind of see where Sudhir is coming from, and I think I could do much more of it, but I'm still not there.
So before I pull one of the three of them into the conversation, we published some data a few years back. We commissioned Satwa, one of the consulting firms, to study the impact of matching grants. And matching grants is probably one of the best ways to signal intent.
Yeah.
And so we went and looked at matching grants that a few of us had done. We looked at a lot of data points, and we realized that, and actually started with Venkat at Give India, and one of the team members there, Dhaval, coming and having a conversation to say we have something called India Giving Challenge, right, Venkat? That's right. And would you just anonymously match anything during the Anutsav? And so he ran it as an experiment initially. And then when we started looking at the data, we realized that every buck that you gave actually resulted in 2 or 3 being raised over and above what the organization would have actually got. And that was really interesting, it was very powerful. So this continued over many years, and we ended up getting a lot of rich data. And so we started running more matching programs, and we realized other people were doing it as well. And so we got Sattva to actually look at a study. It's now available publicly. It has a toolkit on how NGOs can do matching grants and how donors can actually fund the causes they care about by being public about their matching. And this is the biggest place where intent versus action actually can massively be transformational. So, which one of you three is going to volunteer to talk about this a little bit more deeply? Govind, over to you.
Yeah, and I think it's important that Amit was raising it from a donor perspective. I want to give you an example of something that I think the NGOs, many leaders, I'm sure in this room and otherwise, years ago, I'm part of an organization called Social Venture Partners. And I suddenly woke up one day on my 50th birthday and I said, I'm going to match, we had that time 65 NGOs in the ecosystem at SVP. And I said, if all of you get onto the Give India platform, and they're giving this pledge, that's what's called the Heroes Program, and if you start a fundraising page for yourself, whatever you raise, I'll match. Now, of the 68, 61 had never been on a retail funding pledge. So they never tested that muscle. And by the time the challenge was done, all 61 had raised it, which is fine. But today, those 61 get 26% of their funding from that retail page. So think of the muscle it created. This is what Amit was talking about. It created a muscle which they never had before. And I think going out there and publicly stating that, for me, helped those organizations benefit, forgetting me for a minute. And I think therefore the power of inspiring or the power of conviction sometimes is something that can be a huge multiplier effect. So I just want to share that example.
Thanks Govind. Lewis or Venkat, you want to add anything to that? Or Lewis is good. Venkat, you want to add anything? Great, excellent. I'm going to open it up to the audience. I particularly would love to hear different ends of the spectrum, and someone who actually heard the conversations, the arguments for and against, and thought maybe they should think differently. So anyone would volunteer? Great. Rishabh. Rishabh, introduce yourself as well.
Hi, my name is Rishabh Karakia and founder of a kindness movement called Your Till Now. I am on Nimratai's side. Yes, I am also an introvert. And I wouldn't like to speak about this part. But yes, when it comes to my kindness movement, I become very extrovert. I speak about it, everybody knows about it. But when it comes to living my promise, even when I give interviews to press, I said, I'm telling you this, but this don't cover. I'm very clear, being very honest. I said, don't cover this part. And even today, last week, I messaged Gunjan, who all are coming for the guest list. Because I knew some 1-2 people, if they will come, so this has to be within the room. So I know I have to go and speak to that, but luckily that person will not come today. Because even besides my wife and my son, nobody in the family knows, nobody in my friend circle knows, nobody knows except few who are into the same kind of giving into. So I would still prefer, when it comes to living my promise, I don't want to share about it. Sorry.
No, thanks for sharing that, Rishabh. I'll put it on my LinkedIn blog. I'm not on any platform.
So we are here today first time.
Just introduce yourself to me.
Hi, my name is Paras Gada, and I am Nitin Khanapurkar's guest. If Nitin hadn't spoken to us about it, we wouldn't be here. So I do believe that it's important to spread the word, and I believe selectively amplifying is important. You don't need to necessarily share the amounts that you are giving for charity, but you do talk about the causes and what really you believe in. That's the only way you will be able to enlist more people for better causes.
Thank you, Paras. Yeah, just behind you, Paras, you can pass the mic. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Divya Sampath. My promiser Madhura isn't here today. I've met a few of you already, hoping to speak to much more. Hey Govind, hope you had a good flight back from Bangalore. So I want to make a case for the selective giving with an example from my life. So my father's ancestral village, actually my grandfather's ancestral village in Tamil Nadu. There's a group of us who all hail from that village. And for a number of years now, starting with my parents, we've been contributing to local village level things. Whether it's the renovation of the temple, the renovation of the school, helping with scholarship programs for kids who want to study and so on, right? So this all runs on a WhatsApp group and has from the beginning. So it was kind of an eye-opening experience for me last year when someone said that, usually when there's a cause that comes up, like the school renovation project came up 2 years ago, and a bunch of us will typically pledge openly how much we're giving in that WhatsApp group very quickly. It's usually the same suspects, right? And somebody actually privately complained to my mother, and therefore it got to me, saying that, you people never allow us the chance to do anything. By the time we want to do something, you jump in and kind of, give the money and the cause is sorted out. So that was one example, and I realized that, okay, maybe I'll still give, but I don't need to actually announce it right away, immediately. Give other people opportunities to serve as well. So that's an example of that selective public visibility, because it also does kind of, in some situations, I think, can put off other people, especially, I also saw this in my alumni group. People felt we had hit the target for a particular non-profit. And I was like, what's wrong with giving more than the target? Yes, we targeted 1.5 lakhs, but we could give more. Yeah. But, that's another example of not necessarily, visibility not necessarily doing what you thought it would. So
thank you, those were wonderful points. I'm going to end with 2 questions, and then I have the second part of this quiz. So the 2 questions that I'm going to end with, I'm going to ask for volunteers in the audience to ask a question each to Sudhir and Nirmala. I want one person who is each on opposite sides of the spectrum. Someone who wasn't okay being selectively visible, but completely invisible, would like to be under a rock. And don't be shy. If you could put your hand up, I would like you to ask your question to Sudhir, okay? In the most provocative manner possible. Okay. Anyone volunteering to do that? Please do. And someone who is is absolutely okay being completely visible, writes everything on social media, shares with friends. Challenge Nirmala Rai. Come on. Great. Bindi. Bindi, which group are you in?
The latter.
I know. Come on. Yeah, Bindi. Come up. Come in the front. Come. Introduce yourself as well.
Who's the other person?
You start.
Hi, I'm Bindi, another professor over here, so I can ask the question to Nirmala. So I used to be actually where she stands, which is why I flipped to the other side where I'm talking incessantly on all social media channels, and which is why I would like to ask the higher question. So you run something called as the kindness movement, where you want everybody to be kind. So the question I would ask you is, if you don't talk about being kind, then how will you get? Because kindness multiplies. So if you don't talk about it, then how is it possible?
Lovely.
good. So
I'm stealing this from Prabhat in the back. It's not mine. He was unwitting.
So if you follow me on any social media, you will find that I write all the time about kindness. I put up stories, I do everything, right? Because it's a movement run by Gen Zers, and they're the ones who actually volunteer for my platform, because I work with college kids and I'm trying to build the compassion muscle there. But I don't go out saying that I'm the one who is putting the money in. So that's the difference. The cause, right? The cause is something I strongly believe in, and it's out there. It's not at all hidden. But Nirmala, as the person who is writing, is also there. But I'm talking about saying about the giving part. That is something I would say.
So
Yeah, she's not going to leave me.
she's not going to leave you.
Yeah, Bakri.
So, Nirmala, you're an HR person, right? Two types of leadership. You lead from the front.
अभी हार्वर्ड बिजनेस स्कूल ग्रेजुएट निकलने वाला है उसके अंदर. हाँ बोल दो.
They call the two types of leadership. No, one who leads from the back or the one who leads from the front. I know you're the one from the back who's enabling people, but either way, one needs to motivate their people to keep going, right? So, if you don't talk, then how are you going to motivate?
I am talking every day.
But you are not visible.
I'm
That's the
visible
biggest-
also online. Not as much as you. If we have to have a comparison, yes. Not as much as you.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Who's that person under the rock who's going to come out and ask Sudhir a question? Come on. We know there are a bunch of
You
you
can
there.
ask the question under the table if you are comfortable. I can give you.
Who's?
I'll get the mic there. He's under the
Oh, there. Oh, great.
Prashant.
आजा.
Mr. Zan.
Good.
So, my name is Prashant Pal. I come from Jaipur. 4 साल से मैं प्रोफेसर हूँ. मेरा पॉइंट सुधीर की तरह ही है एक्चुअली. मैंने जब काम शुरू किया था सोशल वर्क का, और मैं हिंदी में थोड़ा बोलने में ज़्यादा अच्छा इमोशंस आता है, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब मैंने शुरू किया था तो मैं अकेला था, और मुझे लगा कि ये पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, हमें काम करना तो शुरू किया, और मैंने रोज़ बताना शुरू किया. और मैंने ये आज क्या सोचा है, ये मैं पहले सब पूरा फैमिली ग्रुप में सारे दोस्तों में अनाउंस कर देता मैं करने वाला हूँ. तो घर वाले बोलते ये क्यों बताना है तेरे को, बार बार अनाउंस क्यों करते हो. एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट द जर्नी स्टार्टेड. और आज हम लोग ये काम करते करते, मैंने सोचा था बहुत छोटा काम करना है, लेकिन 17 स्टेट्स में काम कर रहे हैं. लगभग 45 करोड़ आई हैव रेज्ड इन लास्ट 5 years, एंड दिस इज ओनली थ्रू सोशल मीडिया. जस्ट कीप शेयरिंग एज मच एज पॉसिबल. दिन में 4 बार पोस्ट भी करता हूँ. अभी बात करते करते भी पॉडकास्ट रिलीज किया है मैंने. सो आई कीप डूइंग इट एवरी डे. So much money is there.
Lovely, Prashant. Thank you.
So I think sharing is inspiring, and we should keep doing it. और कई लोग ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, इधर हाथ से दो, इसको पता नहीं चलना चाहिए. आई थिंक इधर से दो, पूरी दुनिया को अनाउंस करते हैं.
We still that person under the rock hasn't come out yet. Sudhir.
That's someone.
Lovely. Thank you for doing that.
I'm not under the rock, but sometimes I feel like going back under the rock, so I want to ask you that question.
If my wife was here, she would have joined you.
I actually chose selectively visible. But sometimes I've seen that there are people who are, I know friends who are running NGOs, who are having that cause and are very vocal about it and talking about how much they contribute. But the general thought among people who listen to them is, ये आ गया, फिर से शुरू हो गया ये अभी, and ये already कर रहा है, तो मुझे करने की क्या ज़रूरत है. That kind of audience also is always there. So how do you handle that kind of stuff? There are some who will get inspired by you, but there are many who will feel like ये कर रहा है ना, तो हो रहा है ना काम, तो फिर अभी आओ फिर से बड़बड़ करेगा, आके बातें करेगा और मुझे सुनना पड़ेगा इसका सब.
Good question.
Yeah, so fair enough. I think my initial sense was that, even, by the way, I am an introvert as well. I'm mildly introverted, so I don't know if it gave people feel that only extroverted people can go out and talk. That's not true. My preference is to remain by myself if I have a choice. So one is, I realized that all of us in India especially have grown up with a scarcity mindset, and even when we are in abundance, we are unable to let go of that, no matter what, right? So one of the greatest lessons I've had in the last 5-7 years, since especially becoming a part of SVP and living my promise, is I realized that perhaps the most important learning I have had is the meaning of the word enough. Right? That was a superpower. Once you realize what is enough, then your ability to do something differently is radically different. I have been raising funds through the United Way platform every year for the last several years. And when I first started that journey, I had the same questions in my mind. Kya lagega? I went very hesitantly thinking I could raise barely 5 lakhs of rupees. I didn't know what I would do. It was very uncomfortable as well because I was in the corporate role. I was the CEO of a $1 billion corporation in India, and it was like a very uncomfortable feeling that ये CEO क्या पैसा मांग रहा है, right? And it was very, I didn't know what to expect from people, whether they would, but I was delighted that instead of 5 lakhs, I ended up with 50 lakhs plus of fundraise that people joined me in that movement when they realized that there was something good. So I realized that there is a lot of people as well who want to do good and don't, while there will be the odd person who will say कि ये कर रहा है, but there are perhaps 10x more people who think कि ये अच्छा है, ये कर रहा है. If he's doing it, I know that this is credible and it can allow me to multiply the impact. And that has been my journey throughout the last 6 years, 7 years, that we've ended up raising so much more money than I would ever have done if I had chosen to just stay quiet and said, yeah, quiet philanthropy, nobody should know what I'm doing, and just pretended that my humility is my superpower. No, I can multiply the impact, I can amplify the results. And
Excellent.
But one more follow-up question, one more. Do you
yeah.
sometimes get disheartened by no response coming from people?
so I actually sometimes I worry that people avoid me because they think exactly कि ये आ गया वापस बात करने के लिए. But I think one is the problems that we are trying to address in India are these huge intractable problems that none of us is going to be able to even make a dent in it in our lifetime. The only hope is that we can leave it slightly better or make a small difference in the time that we have on this planet before we move forward. But yes, I think we do have, I do have those concerns. I try and, to the point of not trying to brag about what I do, but share the joy. I think people are being deprived of the opportunity to make a bigger difference if I choose not to, if I choose to stay quiet. I think I am doing a good for everybody and not just for myself.
Excellent. Maybe we'll take the questions offline because I've been warned already once that we're over time and Gunjan's a tough taskmaster. So I'm going to ask everyone to give a hand to both these we've gone over time, but we have to end this clip. I'm going to ask Suzanne to play another Mentimeter quiz. So